We're actually on the air with Father Kevin Mannion, who will be talking to us about the recent memorial mass held for Father Aloysius Eliacuria. Father Kevin Mannion, thank you so much for your time, and I do appreciate the time that you will share with our viewers and also our listeners with regards to Father Aloysius Eliacuria. You had a very wonderful memorial mass held recently, Father Kevin, at San Gabriel Mission.
Yes, we were there, and I would say it was quite amazing. We had, I think, 6 or 7 priests, although one of them arrived later, so we didn't really see him on the altar. But the fact that there'd be 7 priests that would gather to remember Father Aloysius and remember him in prayer and pray for his soul, so forth, even 35 years after his death is amazing. And of course, there were a greater number of people. There were, I'd say, a good 100 or so people. So it was a really good turnout. I think it worked out very well and said quite a bit for the testimony of how people love and remember Father Aloysius after all these years.
Yes, and for people who are listening for the first time about Father Aloysius Eliacuria, please tell us about him. You had always mentioned that he was a holy man and you had worked closely with Father Aloysius.
Yes, he's actually was very well known in the Los Angeles area in the 50s and 60s, even earlier than that, of course, but the 50s and 60s and 70s, although there was about, I'd say, probably a good 8 years when he was outside of Los Angeles. He was in Fatima, Portugal, founding a religious order of men in 71, 72, and 73. But outside of that, he was quite well known in Los Angeles because that was his, he belonged to the western province of the Claretian missionaries, and that particular religious order is dedicated, of course, to the most blessed sacrament, the Immaculate Heart of Mary, to spread the message of evangelization, to all people, and not necessarily as, I guess, in parishes, but they're missionaries, so they'll give it a mission and actually help people become more fervent in their faith. And so Father Aloysius was a great example of this. He was so, I would say, moved by the edifying life of his own founder, St. Anthony Mary Claret, that he falls in the footsteps of, and I guess continues the work of St. Anthony Mary Claret, which incidentally is remarkable to St. Anthony Mary Claret, and is part of his charism or his ministry or the themes that he preached, the same themes as we later hear the message of Our Lady of Fatima, the reparation for poor sinners, especially an interest in adoring the most blessed Trinity, and then asking for pardon from the Trinity for all of the, I guess, the sinfulness and ungratefulness of human beings and so forth. But Father Aloysius was a loyal Claretian, and he was so faithful to his religious profession and his priesthood that most people that came in contact with him could see that he was truly a holy priest.
Mm-hmm. Now, Father Kevin, I know that you have been working for several years for the beatification and canonization of Father Aloysius Eliacuria. How did it all begin?
Well, I was Father's secretary back in the 70s, so for the last years of his life, the most anything that was of a special nature passed through my hands, and I kept an archive of much of his correspondence. Now, I don't by any means have all the correspondence. He has probably other secretaries in the past who had archives. He had who was stationed in Phoenix as a pastor in San Antonio, and I'm sure that the secretaries there kept an archive and so forth. But I might think that I have, let's say, letters and correspondence, maybe about 85% of the existing letters and correspondence that was generated by Father Aloysius. And when he died, it was valuable for me personally, just from a sentimental perspective. But over time, some of the Claretians, I think his Claretian William King, he said, Kevin, as Father Aloysius has passed away, you can take whatever you want out of his room and keep it, because we're going to be making room for other clergymen that you need the space. So Father King was very good and gracious, and over time, other clergymen, I'm thinking of Father Frank Ambrosi, he gave me 2 boxes of letters and correspondence, and then through the years, other people gave me whatever they had. So somehow I arrived at an archive. Of course, what do you do with an archive? Well, since Aloysius was such an interesting figure, and his life story really hasn't been told yet in detail, but it's remains to be seen when the cause is officially underway, and you have the tribunal set up, and then the commissions, especially the historical commission. There'll be a lot of interesting information that's generated and verified, and so eventually there'll be, I guess, more of a publication and or a study of his life, and of course his life and message are related. But I started this just by collecting whatever his writings were. I did take some tape recordings of his sermons, of his homilies, his talks, and I guess that started everything.
All right. We're talking to Father Kevin Mannion, direct and live, about Father Aloysius Elicuria. We'll be back with more about the Association for the Beatification and Canonization of Father Aloysius Elicuria.